Okay, there we go. All right. Three, two, one. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to A Hoops Journey, episode 137. I have zero notes for today, and that is because I finally have the opportunity to sit down with a dear friend, a gentleman who, when we were younger, I looked up to as a hooper, and now I consider a homie. We just had a nice little road trip down to Seattle not long ago. I put on my Cubs shirt just for him. Where do we go with this? From Chilliwack winning dunk contests to playing high level NC2A baseball and basketball to a story of great adversity, being able to fight through a major injury and come back and suit up for the prestigious UBC T-Birds, all the way to playing Dolphin Park Classic with the Monkeys with this guy. The list goes on and on, and he doesn't want to hear it, but I will say, from Alex Zabori to Ed LaFergie to Dom Zimmerman, you name it, the amount of people who have requested to have this guy's story on, not only one, because he's a fantastic human, not only two, because he's an amazing girl dad. Three, this story, I think many people who know the name of John Dykstra may not know the story behind it. And we are absolutely thrilled to have you today. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing excellent, Mitchy. Thank you very much for having me on the cast.
You bet, man.
I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you, to tell you the truth. It's been a long time since
Yeah,
I've really dug into how basketball has impacted my life. And I love that this show uh, is a series of those stories.
hmm
And so I'm looking forward to seeing where our conversation goes. And maybe I'll learn some stuff about how I ended up here, because right behind me, those are all my trophies now.
You got it.
So I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Love it. And I busting your chops for a couple years now about being on and like, yeah, whatever, we'll figure it out. And I think kind of the glue there was when we went on our little trip down to Seattle and watched the Cubbies take two of three from the Mariners. Suck it, shook.
That's
Uh,
right.
and when we went down to the pool on the Saturday and just chatted, and you were, just sharing your story with Tasik and Shook, and I was like, man, this guy's got, you have so many things and you've given so many things to people. I'm thrilled to be with you. How is life for you these days? You got the kids wrapping up school, summer's around the corner. What's the day to day for you, and what are the Dykstra crew going to be up to for the summer?
Yeah, it's all about the girls and how Megan and I can support them in their endeavors, as well as support all of our other family members. I got a sister who also has two boys who are also doing their things on their athletic journeys. My girls happen to be pursuing basketball and dance and some art stuff with music and singing and choir and that sort of thing. But whatever the girls are doing, that's what I'm doing. I want to be there early. I want to do the prep. If there's no practice, let's hit the track. Let's hit the field. Let's hit the gym. Let's hit the rink. My daughter's starting to play some ice hockey, so just being introduced to uh, some new sports that I wanted to play when I was growing up, actually. So yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Have you been to there must have been some sort of a year-end concert or a recital or something that you've been to? Yeah? Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Like that's what. So that was just happening the last couple of weeks. We've all as parents we're doing that and supporting our children. And my kids happen to go to this amazing world class school called Langley Fine Arts, and they have this chief CPAS theater of 700 state of the art, and
Damn.
yeah, and all the teachers are also either actors, thespians, or performance artists. Uh, they're just so influential to these kids. So seeing anybody, you go to any gym or any of those performances, I think they're wonderful. I tend to have to bring Kleenex wherever I go because I'm a crier,
Yeah.
and so you see your kid, and it's just like ISO focus on your child and just that reflection of how we got there. I
hmm
love sitting in the stands and watching them do their thing and try to keep my mouth shut.
It is
Right?
the hard part, right? Being a parent is, and I'm finding that is, I want my son to obtain and have so many skills, but he's just not ready for them yet. And so trying not to force those things out of him and have them come organically is the biggest challenge, to bite your tongue and sort of just let him be who he is is by far the biggest challenge I've found as a parent. I mean, other than him being a pretty hard kid to parent, but um, just sort of letting them figure it out and navigate their own path. And I'm sure you feel that many times in your journey with them.
Yeah, you know what? I think my experience of being a coach, so at the games, in the gymnasium, at the rink, on the field, uh, I know my role. I'm not saying anything. I'm enjoying my child, watching my child perform. I don't have
Mhm.
any suggestions for them. At least that's what I'm trying to tell myself. Now,
Yeah, yeah.
whether I'm doing that uh, in the moment, who knows? But I think I understand that. Now at home, super demanding. But now it's at a stage where these young ladies are taking over the responsibility. I don't have to be on them
Hmm.
that much. They know what the expectation is because it's been clearly set. And now I'm just trying to be around to watch them do whatever they want to do. That's what I want to do. So wherever
Hmm.
they're at, that's where I want to be nowadays. Yep.
Love it, man. Awesome intro. All right, well, let's do it, buddy. Let's go back. Let's talk about
Yeah.
little young JD growing up, how, why sports was a part of your life, and what were the things you did as a kid, um, before you chose kind of basketball. But what was life like for you growing up?
And all sports, Mitchy. Like, I don't know. I think that we've had conversations before. You might have had a similar upbringing. I mean, the kids on my street, if you weren't playing road hockey, you were playing soccer at the pitch, or you could find a pickup game, depending on the level of the play. Who knows? They might not even let you play because you're probably too young. But I always wanted to play all the sports, baseball, like give it to me. I just wanted to not be in a classroom. I wanted to be out doing something active. So yeah, I was always that over hyper energetic kid. So sports was a good outlet for me.
Hmm.
And then I wanted to be good at everything that I did, like lacrosse, like whatever my buddies were doing, I wanted to be doing that,
Hmm.
you know.
And
And
it's funny, we've talked a little bit about this offline, is like, you have two active kids that are busy in different things, and I know you guys personally, so it's whatever they choose to do, you're going to support, but everything is just so structured, right? And so you live in a complex similar to me, where it's like, my Eli's old enough now where he knows his boundaries and he can go out and he can play, and some days he comes home crying because the big kid was whatever, or and so
yeah,
just that a little bit of that lost art, because we're in such this protection place with our kids in our world these days, right? And it's nice to have and hear these stories of that old school feel of, I don't know what I'm doing today, but I'll come home and I'm hungry, and your parents are like, yeah, see you later.
that was a great
Yeah,
existence, right?
yeah,
Come home when the street lights are on, you
yeah,
know. That was
for
awesome.
sure. And so, like, growing up and things like that, what was it about basketball? Why did basketball start to be something that was a part of your life? Was there a coach, a game? Was there something, watching games on TV? Let us know about how it became a huge part of you.
Yeah, you nailed it. I loved hoops. First of all, Jordan was at North Carolina, or I don't know, he might have been in high school, but no, it was like Patrick Ewing and Purvis Ellis were like in college at the Final Fours. And what
Yes.
changed the whole thing for me about hoops, what was, we had this exchange teacher from California, Mr. Borgeson, grade 5. I'm 10 years old, turning 11 this year. And he's a graduate from UCLA. He's a massive Bruins fan, loves John Wooden, read to our class quotes about Wooden, taught us about the pyramid, about
Yes.
competitive excellence when we were like 10 years old, like during our math lesson, right? And he was just this cool, awesome Californian exchange teacher. Like, what a fluke!
Yeah.
Uh, and uh, and we're in Chilliwack of all things, and so he ends up coaching the grade 5, 6, 7 basketball team, and we're doing some things, and there might have been some kids around and that sort of thing. And then it got to, because we were 8 foot hoops, right? I was
Yeah.
six, I was 6'1" when I was 11, right? So I like cross him up and I take him baseline, like and I know that he thinks he's gonna launch my ball into the rafters, and then like, good, nice try, Johnny. But so I know that he thinks I'm going, but I wrap it around and dunk on him. the the whole place goes bananas, right? Like the kids are
Of
like,
course.
wow, what just happened?
Yeah.
And then anyway, so we ended up, and that was kind of how Mr. Borgeson and I got introduced.
Yeah.
And then he started teaching. We went to one tournament. I think his elementary season's like one tournament, right? Like a one day
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
You practice for like 3 weeks and then go to your one day tourney. We do that, and then the year end tournament. We watched the final four on, either pull out in the library with the
Yeah.
box, the final four, pizza, and I'm just like, it's blowing my mind. And he leaned over me. He's like, John, if you really wanted to, if you worked really hard, you could do that one day if you wanted to. And I was like, wow, what? How? And he's like, and then we started talking for the rest of the, and I was like, and working out. And,
Yeah.
and so he
Had you
had
had
so
any
much,
basketball experience to this point?
just playing around, just messing
Yeah.
around. My
Yeah.
dad was a huge sports fan. He was really in shape. He was also very young. Like, so my dad had me, and we'll maybe get into him and my relationship with him later, but because he's so influential, he and my mother had me when they were 19 and 20 years old. And
Right.
so when I graduated high school, he was 35.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm 51.
Yep.
I got a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Yeah.
so he was so active. Like, I went on 10-kilometer runs with him, like as a 11 and 12-year-old. Or if he
Yeah.
was working out, I was lifting. Like, I was just, I wanted to be what he was doing. And he was
Hmm.
playing a lot of high level softball at the time. So they are all working out. And so, I was there, and that was just such a huge influence of just seeing, I was like, I want to be the best. I got to work harder than that. Okay. And
Hmm.
then when basketball started becoming a reality, my dad started seeing, hey, this kid might have a little talent. And then I kept saying, hey, I want to do that. And he's like, I don't think you understand what you're saying, because he was born and raised in Indiana,
Yeah.
Munster, Indiana, and Michigan. And then they ended up in Chilliwack because his father was a preacher and was a reverend, and became the preacher at the First Christian Reformed Church on McNaught Street in Chilliwack, and brought his 14, 18, 10, and baby with him from Grand Rapids, Michigan at the time. And that's how my dad ended up in Chilliwack, because his family left back to Grand Rapids, Michigan when my dad was 16 years old. And they left him in Chilliwack with his eldest brother, who's 18, bought him a house. Could you imagine this today? Could you imagine buying a 16 and an 18-year-old young man a property, and then leaving the country and saying, have a great life? Because at that time, they were like, no, I have a life here, Dad. I got a job. I got a girl. I'm not going
Mm.
back to Grand Rapids. Blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
Like, both of them were like that. And so they're like, okay, well, here's a house, and we wish you well. And then 2 years later, that's when I was, or 2.5 years later, that's kind of when I was born. And so
Yeah.
having a young father who is so energetic and into sports himself, I think had a massive influence on me. But this Mr. Borgeson took it to the next level with hoops.
Hmm.
And then ever since then, it's like, if I saw a basketball, it was just something about it. Like these little dots in here, they were just like, I wanted to like squeeze it and try and maybe open. Like, I just love
Is that a
touching this.
Spalding?
Yeah, baby.
Oh
Well,
man, that's the best ball.
yeah, and it's for the girls, right?
TF 1000. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
28.5.
that's
But
right.
hey,
Yeah,
the best
they're just,
ball.
oh, I love it.
This guy knows. Yeah.
And the wide channel, right? Because
Hmm.
you get that thumb down, get your fingers in one of those channels, and get your fingers into channels, and oh man, it's just, if I just, touching this thing just
Yeah.
made it was different for me. It just hit different. I
Hmm.
love the sound. I love the bounce. I didn't like the clank off the back of the rim unless it fell in. I love the swish, just the sounds of the game, and just everything about it, the feel. It just fit me, and I just wanted to be the best I could.
Hmm.
And my dad was like, "Well, that's great, but I don't think you understand what that means."
Right.
And when he meant by that is son, what we're going to do, you say you want to do this, you want to play Division I basketball. That's awesome. I'm so proud of you. What a great thing to try to achieve. He's like, if you do good in school, be on a roll minimum, then I'll send you back home to Indiana, Michigan, Grand Rapids, where my family is. You could do basketball camps, development camps, whatever's going on. But mostly what I want you to do, son, is I want you to go down to the parks, find out where the games are being played, where are the college players playing. And if you can't beat those guys, then you can't do this. They want your scholarship. If you can't
Yeah.
beat those guys out there who just got off their job and can't get a scholarship because maybe they just don't have the acumen to be able to do some of the red tape stuff,
Hmm.
if you can't beat those guys, then you can't do it. And so for 5 years, grade 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, he flew me out there, and I would go to Michigan State, I would go to Notre Dame. I would oh, I got, and they're just saying these, listing these things out, all these weird things that happen at these camps. And then of course then you get introduced, if you're a decent level basketball player and you want to pursue these things like a scholarship,
Yep.
you go to 5-star camp, you go to Pit 1 or Pit 2, Robert Morris College, in front of 700 scouts, and you get it on. You cry in the back when you don't make the all-star team, and Coach Izzo is an assistant coach at Michigan State, comes out on the tennis courts while the all-star game's going on. I didn't make it, and I was just crushed.
Yeah.
And I was crying because I thought my dad and my family wasted all their money sending me there, right?
Yeah.
And I remember just shooting free throws in the back. And Coach Izzo, Heathcote was the head coach at Michigan State at the time. And this guy comes out, and it happens to be Izzo. And he's like, "Son, are you okay?" Like, and I was like, yeah, I'm just working some things out, Coach. And he's like, "Well, what are you working out?" He's like, "I saw you play this week. Well, excellent. Well, why aren't you inside watching the All-Star game kind of thing?" And I was like, I should have been in that. I should have been in that game, and I can't believe I'm not. I really feel like I let my family down, and I'm letting it. I'm just spewing to Coach Izzo,
Hmm.
and he's like, "Son." He's like, stops me. He grabs my shoulders. He makes me look at him in the eyes, and he's like, "Son, you're going to be totally fine." If I had any players that had the emotion and understanding of how important this should be, like how you're showing me today, he's like, "You got it. You got whatever you need to make it. Don't you worry about it. Things are going to work out for you." And
Wow.
I was like, wow, deep breath. And he was just an assistant. He wasn't Coach Izzo
Yeah, for
at
sure.
the time. He was just, going from camp to camp and working for Garfinkel, right? And
Hmm.
so um, that experience was awesome too, because it's all these trying to achieve and just short misses. I was never on a BC team. I was never made a provincial team. I never made a super camp team. And still I got a Division I scholarship,
Hmm.
all because of my father and his understanding of how to go about doing that. Get in front of the people that are decision makers, that have access to that kind of um, uh, uh, thing. Or sorry for stumbling there, Mitchy.
Right.
That have access to other decision makers that have access to funding, and it can say,
Right.
"Yep, yeah, we want that guy."
Hmm. Hmm.
And so that's how it all worked out for me, man. But I was like, you played on some provincial teams, didn't you, Mitchy?
Yes, sir.
Oh gosh, I wanted to do that so bad. I just wanted to like have that justification of representing our province, or I
Hmm.
just wanted to do it so bad. And for whatever reason, I was not going about it when I was a young person the right way to get selected.
So
Whether
what do
you
you
had,
mean? What do you
like,
mean by that? Expand on that a bit?
well, I never made the teams. I tried out for all the teams. I
Hmm.
was at the practices.
Yep.
I made the
Yep.
first cut. I never made like the second or third cut. Now,
Hmm.
so that's when I was younger, and let's say from 14 to 16. So
Yep.
I get cut from the under 16 team, uh, and I'm like crushed a little bit, but whatever. I'm still like, I'm relentless. I want to do this thing. I want to play Division I basketball. How do I do that? And then there's a next tryout. So I try out for the under 18. This is like Mitch Berger's year and those guys.
Yep.
And um, and I make the team. I made the under 18 team, and I'm like, finally, I'm like, I did it, like that
Yeah.
moment of like accomplishment, like, okay, the things that I'm doing are working, and because somebody says that they're working, right? Like that young aspect of not taking control of your own destiny. Like you get your affirmation from others, that if somebody else tells me, "Oh, I'm good," rather than feeling that for yourself, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
And so this was that moment for me. I'm like, I finally made it. And then Basketball BC called my parents, and said, hey, you know what, if there's a rule, if you don't make your own age provincial team, you cannot participate in an older age. So if you're not on the U6, if you're not selected for the U16 team,
Right.
you cannot play or be selected for the U19 team.
Right.
Is what they, and so they did this. It was not a rule before that.
Yeah.
My understanding is that they had like a vote, like kind of like a last minute vote, because they put the names in there. Like this Dykstra kid, he didn't make the, and Corbett is the coach of the 16 team at the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't know how all that shook out, but I didn't get to be on any of those teams. is what ended up happening. And then so that's when my father was like, thank you, Basketball BC. We've tried to do our part. Now
Yeah.
we're going to do it this other way. And the other
Sure.
way was, instead of me participating in Basketball BC, was I would go to 5-star camp, a Michigan
Yep.
State camp, and all those, and then got noticed by the coaches there. And then they would say, hey, you should try this. Like somebody would always say, hey, kid, you should try this. And then that's kind of how it ended up working out. To this guy at the Notre Dame basketball camp was like, man, if I could get you, like this would be a score for him. And it was at the Tennessee Tech University, which is a small Division I school in Cookeville, Tennessee. And so that was my only scholarship offer. SFU was recruiting me, UBC was recruiting me, but I wanted to play. So that's how I ended up at in Tennessee Tech, was by doing this other method of going and playing in the States just all the time, playing at all the parks, Griffith, Lew Wallace, Gary, Indiana, street courts. Grandma would drop me off at 9 in the morning and pick me up 9 at night. Like that was a real thing. And I would just ball all day. And there's nobody in the morning. So you're ball handling, you're doing this thing and just shooting for hours. And then finally, when work gets off, you know, from like 5:30 to 9, now you're balling. And so like that last 5, now when grandma comes at 9, you're like, hey, can you come back in an hour? Right? Like, we're gonna, we finally, you drop me off at 9, we just started playing this last 3 hours, you know. So I'm just so thankful for all of that, because the D1 experience is amazing. It really is. I think at any institution, just because they're so well funded and provided for and supported. And the little school that I went to is just a college town. Like if you're a guy on any of the squads, you know, any of the teams, you're known in town, and it's just a fun existence, you know.
For sure.
Yeah.
In those high school years, right? Obviously, for people that are thinking of 2024, like Chilliwack was one of very few high schools out there. Was there like Agassiz?
Yeah, Agassiz
Right.
was winning single A championships.
Right. They had the big guy.
Dave Dick.
Yeah,
they had the Tifting brothers.
Yeah.
Jason Watson. I mean, they had really had some ballers. I think they won 3 or 4 single A straights. And
but this is like when the Valley was like, you didn't drive 30 minutes to play an opponent. You drove 45 to an hour. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't like, you know, 15 schools in Surrey, right? So going through all those experiences, understanding that, hey, any sort of team is, there's politics involved. People see things different, obviously there must've been something in your mind where you felt like, I know I belong. Were you like a guy who carried that chip on his shoulder when he was playing, as like, hey, that guy made the team over me, I'm going to prove myself? Or was it just the process of continue to work? You love this sport, you love the work that comes with it. And let's not overpass the fact about you being an absolutely insane athlete, my guy. You're just going to like not let that happen. And we're not going to talk about how you jumped over 3 people and won the dunk contest. And I was sitting there with my Dole Whip, almost freaking falling out of my chair watching you do that.
Yeah.
And I remember watching you play at the Valleys and kind of, like, let's be honest, like for a white boy, you had some game, man. Like you had that kind of Rex Chapman sort of athleticism where you turned heads and people were like, hey, this guy can do things that the other dudes that look like him can't, right? And so, as I normally do on this show, I just asked you 48 questions.
That's okay, buddy. Yeah.
If you could find a way to break them all down. But yeah, like one, hooping in a place like Chilliwack, a small community, but you do have other rival schools, sort of being able to prove yourself. And then, just talking about literally were those the only three schools that recruited you, and then like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
yeah, wow.
yeah. And so growing up
Now was
in
that
Chilliwack,
Stan? Was Stan at SFU? Rest in peace. Or what?
well,
Jay would
well, Jay was just taking over.
just
Yeah,
taken over. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And that's I'll tell that's an interesting because they were called the Klansmen,
they sure were. They had some
and
interesting road trips, I think.
that's a problem. Like
Yeah,
and because I was when I remember being in Tennessee and got a letter of just kind of
yeah,
hey how you doing, and it was
yeah,
and it said it spelled with a C, thank goodness, but it was just like I'm glad
yeah.
they sorted that out, right? But
Yes, yes.
anyways, uh, Chilliwack was an amazing town to grow up in. I mean, if you ever go and spend time there, if you've been to Cultus Lake, it is one of the most beautiful places on earth, at least in my humble opinion. It's just so nestled in the mountains
Literally.
and with the woods, with the farmland. It's just it's gorgeous, and I could do without the smell for sure. But thank goodness they're growing things for us to eat out there. But they had this massive actually well I thought it was massive, I thought it was incredible when I was again 11 12 13 years old. They actually had a program out there run by Joe Morrow was a young teacher then, and he wanted to do something with basketball, and they had a team that I was just like, I can't wait to, I hope I can be this good one day. Right. Is like, I was always at the senior high school, even in elementary school or junior high school. I knew when their practices were, I was always around. I tried to get in on scrimmages. I sometimes got invited or had to stand in and be a cone, like, but I was, I already had an instinct like, hey, if you want to get things done, be there, be around wherever that's happening. And it was happening at the senior high school. And so they had this thing called the Coca-Cola tournament. And I went the whole day, like, because they
Yeah.
played from 8 in the morning until whenever. And I just couldn't get enough of it. And the rival was Chilliwack versus Sardis because there was only two high
Okay.
schools then. There was
Yeah.
no Graham, there was no these other schools,
Yeah.
no private schools. It was just Chilliwack and Sardis, and there'd be 600 to 800 people in that gym. You can only fit 500, right? Like it was just an amazing environment. And so played in that tournament grade 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And it's like that Jimmy Chipwood Hoosiers kind of environment. And that's what I just wanted to do something special with the game. I definitely I spent so much time. I wanted to dunk on guys. It was a show. I wanted to go out there and show because I worked so many hours. I'd be playing 8, 9, 10 hours a day. No joke. I mean, in increments of 2, 3, and 4 because you can eat or do homework. But I'd be done, working out after 4 hours. My dad'd be like, "Oh, is that all you're doing today?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I got 4." And I would tell him what I did. He's like, "Okay, well, I hope the other guy's not doing more." Right. And you just leave the room. Right. Like, and I'd be like, "Oh, there's still some light out." Right. So I go put up some more. Kind of that mentality, right? Always growing up. And so I thought that on game day, you have an obligation to give people something interesting to so instead of finger rolling it, let's dunk it, let's clack the rim, let's just be intense about everything we do. Now that as a young person is all well and good during the game, but I don't think that in hindsight, only in hindsight now, I could have managed it better. Just my emotional level, how I was interacting with my teammates, fans, and paying attention to all the other things rather than just paying attention to myself and not understanding how myself is interacting with maybe the environment and how I would like to redo that. That's why I love so much, full circle, I'll just kind of skip ahead, coaching. Because I could connect with these athletes that are so good, but just don't have the emotional balance and control yet. Because I can help you get there quicker. Because it took me way too long. Let me help you. And so that's what I loved about coaching maybe the most is those great athletes. They're just wired too tight, and they got and they don't know how to process maybe their emotions, thoughts, and well, how do you give the tools and skills to do that? And it's just by telling that kid like Izzo did to me, hey, you're gonna be fine. It's all okay. you're working it out because you care so much.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this wouldn't matter. And so, anyways, so I digress. So growing up in Chilliwack and playing hoops was amazing. We actually, the YMCA, all the old ballers, you know, that are on the oil rigs, or never ever thought of that could a basketball scholarship was totally possible for these guys, by the way, because they were so dang good.
Yeah, for sure.
But they never thought about it. That was
Yeah.
like, no, I'm graduating and I'm going and working. I'm going on a boat, or I'm going to the oil rigs. I'm going to Alberta. I'm going to come
Hmm.
home and visit my family in Chilliwack for the summer.
Yeah.
And man, could they ball! And I just remembered uh, those also helped me get better. Like these, just the older guys drug me along when I was grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, grade 11. Like even the guys that weren't any good but were just stronger, they would
Yeah.
put me in my place. Like, you
Of
know,
course.
like I just had so much help after people saw how much I loved it. And then of course all the things you talk about, the athleticism, the dunking, and the things that I could do, because I could do some things.
Hmm.
They wanted me to do those things and encouraged me to do those things. And so I'm so thankful actually to the whole community of Chilliwack, and for sure Coach Morrow,
Hmm.
for providing all these opportunities for hoops, you know. And he's still coaching there today. He's still teaching and coaching. I think he's reverse aging. So you know what I mean?
Benjamin
Like,
Button.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so if you're playing Chilliwack, look for Morrow. I think he might be doing the juniors now or something like that, but he's still giving back.
It's awesome.
Now, the rivalry, so was Sardis,
Yeah.
yes. Agassiz, yes. But then there was also Ellis and the boys in Abbotsford. They had some
Yeah.
nice Trotman and those boys. Like they
Yep.
they had some great squads. So the Valley was, and then Maple Ridge,
Yep.
Pitt Meadows, right? And of course
Yep.
your teeth. I mean, just the Valley it's awesome to grow up in the Valley playing hoops. Is all I got to say. It's really
Agreed.
competitive,
Yeah.
and so growing up at that time, I think all those teams were just excellent, you know, and pushing each other. So, yeah, so I was, you know, I really feel like I got the full experience. There was a point in high school where, hey, am I gonna go live in the States, go to high school in the States?
Okay. Yeah.
You know, like now kids are
Yeah.
doing prep school,
Yeah.
or they're going to Orangeville or whatever, you know, for their grade 13 and that sort of thing, to go and try and maybe get another look for a scholarship and that sort of thing. And then grade 10, and then my dad decided, or my dad became friends with Coach Morrow, and based on my dad's development with me, Coach Morrow offered my dad an AC position. And my dad took it up and did it for 14 years, by the way, after 2 with me and then another 12 after me. But once my dad became the coach, then my decision was done. I was staying in Chilliwack to play. I didn't care. And really, it's because of all these books. Like you read the Pistol Pete, you know, books, or even the movies. Like his dad wouldn't even let him play unless he was going to do it properly, right? Like made him watch with the older boy. No, you're not ready yet. Like that kind of thing. Like, right?
Yeah.
And so that's I wanted that experience, like to be coached, like all the greats were coached by their dad, you know, or that kind of thing. So instead of going to Indiana or Michigan for high school, I did stay in Chilliwack, and thank goodness for it, because I just, you know, I think it had everything to do with leading me to my opportunity of being able to play and make my dream of playing Division I basketball at Tennessee Tech University. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Let's transition to that. Like,
Yeah.
at a time where, I mean, you know, there's Putzi,
Puts.
right? There's some guys that are going down, but it's not as a common thing as it is now, right? So
Yeah.
it was your dream, your goal, and then you finally get that offer. Was there ever like a, maybe we should wait and see if something else comes, or was it like, get the pen out, like this is done deal, forget about it, I don't care
Yeah.
if it's Tennessee, whatever. Yeah.
I didn't care. No, I didn't care. And I think I'll even akin it to maybe like a year later, Steve Nash, you know,
Yeah.
a coach in Santa Clara is at the BCs, and they're like, oh, there's no chance I'm getting this guy. This guy's awesome. And there's no other coaches.
Wait, I'm the only one here. Yeah.
So anyway, so when Tennessee Tech, actually, instead of it being talk, when
Yeah.
they sent the letter of intent,
Yeah.
and it was real, I couldn't sign it quick enough. I was like, let's do this. Like, and
Was it
whatever happened,
faxed? Mail? Like,
you know what? It probably was faxed, but no, it was the whole package was mailed,
yeah.
and and then my dad sorted out, did a little signing at the school library with the principal and the coach and that sort of thing, right?
Dope.
And yeah, and it was the early signing period, so I had signed in November,
Okay.
and that right, and so it's and then play your senior season. So you
It
just
must
feel,
be it's a
your
good
team.
feeling, right?
It's a great feeling. There's no wait. What am I going to do? I don't have to. I could just play. Just play and have fun. That was a really great year. We ended up losing to Kelowna, Brady Ibbotson and the
Ooh.
Kelowna Owls. A first round game we actually lost to Burnaby Central, coached by Ross Tomlinson, Tony Pomonis, David Chavaria.
Chavaria,
Oh
beast
man, he's a beast. They beat us by 18 in the first round, and then I think they eventually lose to the Super Colts in the
in the
final.
final.
Yeah, Scalesy Dog and Paviskis and those guys.
For those that don't know, like Chavaria was like he could put it down with his armpit, was also drafted in the MLB. Like the
Yeah,
guy
he's
was
still coaching Double A baseball in Florida, I think.
no way.
Yeah, and I saw his son is an O lineman for Florida Atlantic University.
Oh
He
yeah.
is like, and then he's got daughters playing college softball and maybe lacrosse. Like, yeah, so he's doing it in Florida. Yeah, still coaching minor league ball.
Yeah. And I think, and this is one of the things that, without sounding like a super old head, but because there was there's so few high schools as there were now, right? So it's like these teams that you're playing, like you're talking about, okay, Brady Ibbotson, like 5 years at UBC, like
Yeah,
Chavaria,
yeah,
multi-sport athlete, like Pomonis played post-secondary, Scales post-secondary, you go Division 1. Like these are just the teams that you're seeing at the provincials every day. And these are like, they're 4, 5, 6 university level athletes on each team, right? Like it was some serious hoops, man.
yeah.
Did you just feel confident in everything that you did in terms of because of how you were raised and brought up and having that exposure to the American game and playing pickup on the, on the streets and call your own fouls and all that? Like, other than just the nerves of getting out of Chilliwack and going away for school full time, did you feel pretty confident? I mean, I'm assuming if you're already processing and thinking like, hey, maybe I'm going to leave for my senior year to go to prep or play somewhere, that it was kind of a natural thing for you to take off and you were just ready to do it. Or maybe your
Yeah.
dad just didn't give you a chance to like think about it. He was like, get the heck out of here, boy.
Well, that is a thing for sure. Like
Mm-hmm.
even when I was again back to 10 and 11, it was like, hey, son, you understand once you graduate, you're out of the house for sure. Like that was a given. You're either working or you're on a scholarship, and we don't have the money for the scholarship right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to earn that on your own if you wanted to go to post secondary. Otherwise, you'd be getting a job, and you won't be living here. Like that was just kind of understood.
Yeah.
And so it was always like, what am I going to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, this scholarship thing sounds like the thing I should be maybe going for. And so that was always like, yeah, I got to do whatever it takes to make that happen. And then once it happened, yeah, super full of confidence, excited to get the journey started, to the point of I graduated, I think it was June 24th, and I was in Tennessee on June 26th.
Just dipped, hey?
Just dipped,
It was time.
and I wanted to prep. I wanted
Yeah.
what is the arena like? What are the guys like? What are the I want to get training in. Where are they playing in summer tournaments? Like what
You
is
didn't
the
want to find
environment?
out where your classes were going to be and like what the camp.
No.
How far it was your
You know
walk
what?
to
Uh,
first year English or math or whatever. That's not wasn't.
oh, geez, that is good, Mitchy. Hey, that's good. Yeah, yeah. I had no intention of the scholastic portion of this journey.
I would say out of the
Yeah,
137 episodes, there's probably a handful of people who would say that it was scholastic as well. Like Kayla Alexander for sure was there for academics. Miranda, she was an
yeah,
All-American, but
yeah.
I would say 90% of the guests were like not really too concerned.
That's a
Yeah.
tell. That's a big tell. Hey. Oh, that's wonderful.
And what was it
Yeah.
like? I mean, you're going from the burbs and the whack to Tennessee, baby. Like What was
It
that
was
transition like?
I was not prepared. I
Yeah.
thought that I was. So again, you're talking about basketball confidence, man.
Yep.
I had it through the roof and whatever. It was the
You
and
did
then
have some serious swagger when you played, man. I swear to God, I watched you play in the valleys at SFU. I think you rolled your ankle and subbed out and put on a pair of pumps and
yeah,
pumped
my
them up.
shoes, my
Yeah.
Reeboks, they blew out. My heel blew out the back of my shoe.
Yeah.
And then my dad had we always had an extra pair of shoes,
Yeah.
and it was the pumps that I didn't want to wear, right?
Yeah.
But my shoes, so
You
I
didn't have a
yeah
choice.
yeah he had to well I had to get the freezing and then the tape and then
Yeah.
the pumps and then go back in and get a
I was
W.
like, look at this guy. This guy's a G, man. He just put on pumps.
Be
Wow.
tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, are we playing this game or not? Like, let's be
Yeah.
tough. And if you can move, you're gonna play, right? Like
Yep.
that was just kind of that's how we did it. We wouldn't have been allowed to do that nowadays, likely because a responsible coach would say, "Hey, son, I get it. I love your intensity. Just
Chill.
take care of your body."
Yeah.
And then we got this one for you, right?
Right.
Like it would have been different probably nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
The whole concussion protocol kind of thing, right?
For sure.
I don't know how many. I was like, "Hey, Brady, did we
What
win?"
happened
He's
yesterday?
like,
Yeah.
he's like, "Dude, it's halftime. What are you talking about?" I was like, "Oh man,
Who's got the smelling salts?
yeah, jeez, yeah." So no, was totally prepared. I thought,
Yeah.
but unbeknownst to me, I was so immature culturally, worldly. Just I didn't grow up at the place I was going to school in and understand the racial tensions between the white and black communities there. And I didn't like our own fans were saying the most horrendous things that anybody could hear, and none of our team wouldn't even you pretend like it wasn't happening. And what I mean by is inappropriate, like really wrong comments made racially, and nobody's saying anything. And this is our own fans talking about our own players, and it was
So they're not talking about the opponent. They're talking about
our own players. Like
wow.
it was just like or having relationships with some of the guys who like, "Oh, Dykes, I love you, but hey, man, like don't come around here today." like that kind. It was just I don't know. It was just I had difficulty understanding because I just wanted to love everybody. I just like I'm your teammate. What do you need from me? I'm
It's on
coming over,
par.
buddy.
Yeah, yeah.
What's going on? They're like they would laugh. They would. It's like and so we had 7 white guys and 7 black guys, and the coach would profess daily that we do not have any racial problems on this team. Like we're not like out there that might happen, not in here. And you know what? For the most part, that was true. We were all boys when we were together, traveling. Anytime we were together, we were really together. I didn't understand how to interact when we weren't together. Like when it wasn't a basketball function,
right?
You're just out on the street, and you're with your folks, and I'm with my folks. And I can say, can I come over to your house for dinner?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And you not get accosted by the rest of your family because you like the white kid, or vice versa. And so, and I really, man, I hated every second of it. I felt so bad for most of my black teammates, to be honest with you. And I didn't know how to support them or other than, love them and be there for whatever. But I didn't want to be down there with like outside of basketball. While we were doing our basketball thing and traveling and everything was great. It was awesome.
Which is the beautiful part of the game, right? Is many people play basketball and they forget about what's happening, but then the reality hits you of you get a good dub and you leave the locker room together and it's like everybody goes, and it's like, well, what is this, right?
Yeah. And I wanted to leave the locker room and be like arm in
arm. Yeah. Where are we going?
Yeah. What's we do? Right.
Yeah.
And then that did happen sometimes, just not as much as maybe I wanted to.
Hmm.
or when I go with a buddy home for like an Easter or a Christmas, or to go watch a game or whatever, like, and get those experiences. It was just really eye widening in terms of I was like, oh, these things that I see on CNN, that like these problems are real and exist,
Yeah.
because I did not grow up in that environment in Chilliwack,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And
And
so
you're like you're a gregarious, outgoing extrovert. You're a family guy. You love groups, right? And so
yeah,
that's your family when you're away. When you're not at home, this is your group. And then to not be able to do that because of racial tension is like, and this is only the early 90s. We're not talking like this is in
yeah,
1971, right? And Rex Chapman, actually, another reference for him, talked about that a lot in his book about how when he was at Kentucky, he had a
Kentucky,
black
baby.
girlfriend. And the boosters would literally tell him, like, don't be seen with her. But, here's a shoebox of money. But hey, by the way, make sure. And it's like, what? You can tell me who I can and can't date? Like, this is, and it's real, right? Yeah.
It's really real.
And so how did you tackle that? I mean, you're trying to fit in on the team regardless.
You know what?
You're
I
a young
didn't.
kid. Yeah. How
I,
do
I,
you?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I basically I self-destructed, because really, uh, I wasn't playing.
Mm,
Like, if you're not playing, that was a major part of it. So
sure.
I went down there, again, full of swagger, full of confidence, everything that happens in the room, and playing with the starters, loving it. Like, this is going to be a great season. And then 2 weeks before the season, I broke my ankle,
Hmm.
and then I took a medical red shirt. I ended up taking a medical red shirt year because
Hmm.
I did it bad. Anyways, and so I had that medical. I practiced, worked out, and balled without the responsibility of having to perform on the game nights. And I was like, and all I was doing is every day is like, I can't wait for next year. Like, when it's
Hmm.
okay, so this is delayed a year. So I really took advantage of that year of getting stronger and better. So I went down at like 6'5", 195 kind of thing.
Hmm.
And then by the second year, I'm 6'5", like 212, 216 kind of thing. Like, not like, just maybe a little bit too bulky, because like
Sure.
the best weight for me was about 208.
Okay.
That was like my that's when I was played my best basketball, and so I always tried to hover around that 210, 208 thing. And once I got there, I was primed to go, and that was my second year, and didn't get any run, wasn't getting any time. The coach that recruited me wasn't there. So I, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the guy that recruited me had moved on to a university before I even got there, that sort of thing. And my first game, I'll rewind it. So my very first game, Mitch, because it's interesting, is Billy McCaffrey, who was just coming off the Final Four MVP from Duke,
Okay.
had just transferred to Vanderbilt,
Okay.
Nashville, Tennessee, because Bobby Hurley was the point guard. He, to be in the NBA, thought, or his agent thought, and his people thought, that he had to be a point guard to be in the NBA. Playing at Duke as a two guard and being the Finals MVP wasn't good enough, I guess.
Right.
So, anyways, my very first Division I game is at Vanderbilt in front of 15,000 people,
No
and
way.
Billy McCaffrey's their point guard, right?
No way.
Yes, and it's weird because the benches are on the end
Yeah,
lines.
that's
It's
it's
so
so
weird.
bizarre watching
It's
it.
the weirdest to be a part of, kind of. Anyways, that was my first game. Second game is against Allen Houston at Tennessee in Knoxville.
No
26,000
way.
people. That's the second game, and then
Alan Houston was okay. He was
yeah,
decent.
and then the
Yeah.
third, and because we're in Tennessee, so in the third games against Memphis.
Yeah. Like Memphis University.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Penny Hardaway.
Come on.
Penny Hardaway. It might not have been the third game. It might have been like the 11th. I think it was later on, because we actually had the nation's leading scorer at the time.
No way.
John, his name, check him out.
Yeah.
John, I don't even know if these stats exist. It's 1992. No, 1991.
Okay.
John Best, he averaged like 29 points a game. And we're playing Memphis. And I just remember the scoreboard would be like, who's the nation's leading scorer, and it would be a picture of John Best as 28 point whatever, and then
Yeah.
they'd show a picture of Anthony Hart of Penny, and he averaged like 26 or something like
Right.
that, and it's like tonight's matchup, like it was just like a big deal, like who's and
Says
let me,
here, John Best. Yeah.
there you go.
Forward center, 6'8", played college basketball at Tennessee for Tech for 4 years. His senior year, he finished third in Division I scoring with 28.5 per game. Damn. That's legit.
J Love, John Best.
That's
That was
awesome.
legit, dude. He was like awkwardly, like he had the most unique, interesting game.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I only put it like he's like that Kevin McHale kind of
Yeah.
movement, and it's
Yeah.
just like, man, he was sneaky. Yeah, he was
That's
clean.
awesome.
But that night, we all got worked
Yeah.
by Anthony and his buddies. You know, I think we lost. You know, I don't know the score. I'd have to look it up. But
Yeah.
I know that we did lose, because here's the last play. It was like right in front of our bench, and Rob West, who was the guy that I was playing behind. I was playing a 2 guard at the time, and Rob West guarding it, and he's a stud. He's guarding Anthony, and Anthony makes an easy one on him. Now Rob comes down. Rob wants him. He's going to take him. I'm like, he's got him. And
Okay.
Rob can get nice. And Anthony just went, boom, took the ball from Rob, and then he actually threw it down the court, like threw it high, like a bounce alley oop dunk, dude. And then so he in our own front court takes it, throws it, sprints, taps the back of his neck, dunks, and then stood on the baseline in the pyramid. Everybody's going nuts, right? Stood on the baseline. I think we even inbounded it. He could care less. He subbed off the next play, right? Like they were up 30 or something like that. Like it was just the most amazing. I was like, what just happened? Like, anyways, that was an experience. So
was that 92, 93?
Yeah, Division I. I wanted to do it, got to do it, had a front seat for Anthony Hardaway. I think he had 33 on us, and there was like 11 minutes to go, you know, and he subbed off.
Yeah, he's like not even trying. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you play your redshirt freshman year.
Yeah.
Was it a mental battle the whole time? Did you kind of like, did you find yourself tapping out a little bit mentally, or
no, I had this. So that's actually interesting. I never even thought. So no, it was the most fun I've had in my life with hoops, because the senior, his name was Wade Wester.
Okay.
He loved college basketball so much.
Yeah.
He wanted to stay another year. He wasn't injured. There was nothing wrong with him. He lived close to the university. He was dating the cheerleader captain. He had the pimp, like the best campus apartment that you could get, and lived with her, and just he wanted his life to continue as it was going. So he took he took him at a, he really only took it just to stay, because he loved college so much. And he's 6'9". Like when I met him, he's 6'9", picked me up from the airport. He's like 300 pounds of solid muscle, like maybe 290. And I was like, oh, I'm like 18 from Chilliwack. Like, this is a what? Well, by the time 3 months later, when the season started, he was 190. Right? He was still 6'9", but he was only 190 because you get tested for substances. Yeah. So I did, and so this is all going on too at the time I'm playing. Like, so some players are, some players aren't. It's all a big secret, and nobody, you know what I mean? Like, but it was he professes that he didn't take anything, but he was like, within 3 months he was 100 pounds lighter, you know, when we started practicing. The point being is, he was such a nice human, and a really good basketball player, and loved college basketball so much. We actually got an award at the end of the year that the boosters gave to us, because Wade and I were so enthusiastic about cheering our teammates. Like, if you wanted a piece of gum or water, like I was the best water boy, towel guy, whatever, like I'm here for you. Like this, like I just loved every second of games, the prep, who wanted what music did you want, Mitch? Like I wanted to be a part of it somehow. Like, how can I make you comfortable, what's going to get you game ready to be focused and fired up, and only positive things about how great you are to all my teammates who are going to go out there and get buckets for us and that sort of thing. I love games, man, because even at our, like, you know, our arena Eblin Center held 25 12-5,
Yeah,
and we would get 8 to 10 regs.
that's
and
solid.
and and then for Murray State, where Popeye Jones was, or our in-state rivalry was Middle Tennessee State University, we would
Hmm.
pack it out. And then of course when you go on the road, if you're playing any of the major institutions, they are rammed, and it's just so fun. So
Yeah.
no, that whole redshirt year was a blessing. It was amazing. I became such, at least I became the best basketball player I've ever been that
Mm.
year. So like when I came home, I wanted, like, where's this? I want to try out for the junior national team. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm obviously on this team. Like this is like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like let's start doing some things now. I think because now every day I'm playing against these guys who I thought were really phenomenal
Yeah.
basketball players. And anyways, so I was no pressure to play, only
Yeah.
prepare. So that whole year was preparing to play next year. And then when that next year came and the minutes weren't there, man, that was like, now that is like, well, and we be in games down 40, and I'm like, well, how am I going to make this worse? Like I'm a tiger. Like
Yeah.
you can even tell, like I'm a bit much, right? Like, and particularly when it comes to competition, if you want somebody to be hustling, I'm your guy. Like
Yeah.
if there's anything I'm going to do, I'm definitely going to be hustling anyway. So, and then not getting that opportunity to do that when I really think we're smacking the first line in practice every day. Cause so, you know, we had 17 guys really, cause we had 2 walk-ons. We had 15 guys that second year,
Hmm.
and we have a unit. So you got your starting 5, you got your next guys that sub them out. So all the 2s are on a unit. And then there's the purple. So it goes white, you know, our school colors, white, purple, no, white, yellow, purple. And I was on the purple team. And what we do is we spend time with all the ACs the week before, learning the team that we're going to be playing's offense. So we're in film session. Like we know the other team's offense way better than our starters, like way better, like infinitely better. And so we're running the other team's offense against the starters. That's the deal. And we all play roles of whoever, and that's how we get our team prepared. Well, that started getting very, very fun, right? Like
No
our
doubt.
purple, all the guys on the purple team, like Dave
Just
Ingram from Jersey, who was a McDonald's All-American. Like, no, this was like, so practices were our game days.
yeah,
And that
for
was,
sure.
and that was our philosophy. We're
Yeah.
like, and we wanted to go smack the starters to show coach, like, come on, like,
Hmm.
give us some run. Like I think our best shooter was shooting under 28% from 3.
Hmm.
That was our best 3-point. I was just like, if you're not shooting above 40, you're not allowed to shoot in the world that I was
Yeah.
brought up in. Like,
Yeah.
come on, like, why am I not playing? So that really did mentally affect me to the point of I didn't want to do it anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was also growing up and realizing, oh, I don't have to be here to do this
Mm.
if I'm not happy.
Hmm.
And well, am I the problem? Is it my, or am I maybe not getting the opportunity to do what I was promised, that I was told that I was going to be able to do 5,000 miles away from my house
Yeah.
and home and friends? So if this is working out, yeah, I'm going to stay here. If this is not working out, and then how do you go about doing that? So now you finally achieved this thing that you wanted. You wanted to do this. You thought you wanted to do this Division 1 thing, and now you don't want it anymore. And I didn't want to. I still wanted it. I just didn't want to be in Tennessee. I didn't want to
Yeah.
deal with the racial tension.
Yep.
I wanted to play somewhere. And so, anyways, my last Division 1 basketball game was against Mississippi State at the Hump, and this is such a vivid night. We were down 33, like within 11 minutes or something like that. And then my buddy Dave Ingram and I we're getting run tonight. Like, we can't wait. Like, let's do this. We've been on a long roadie, and Mississippi State's our last game, so then we're going home. And although we're not performing, we're just like, now it's like, oh, we're going to get an opportunity. Well, we didn't play in the first half. We're down 33. And I'm kind of getting angry.
Yeah.
But trying to be a good teammate. I just want an opportunity to help us, and not getting that just so it just mentally, torturing.
Mm-hmm.
And so second half starts with we're down 50 in the first like 5 minutes. Like they just dominate us. They're having so much fun. We're not having any fun. And I'm still hopeful because now there's 15 minutes left. And some other irregular guys are starting to, get in the game. So I'm like, great. And once it got to the 10-minute mark, I'm kind of like, what is like, and I'm like, I'm like, this guy,
eyes,
right?
eh?
Like,
yeah.
like, you hate that kid.
Yeah.
Or you love that kid. I don't know, but I'm just like, anywhere he was, I was staring right at his eyes, like it's time, unleash me. Right.
Yeah.
And 10 minutes goes. No, 5 minutes goes. Dave doesn't even get in the game. And he's an All-American jersey. Anyway, so 4 minutes goes, Dave goes in, and I'm can't wait to see him do his thing. Right, we're down 55, by the way, Mitch, at this time.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Right, and now it gets to 3 minutes. I'm still not in. I untied my shoes.
You did, eh?
Untied my shoes, and I'm like, no, I'm done. I've decided at that moment, no, I'm not. I'm done with this. It's over. If I can't go in the game, I'm down 55, I'm done. So I untie my shoes. The guys kind of notice it, and because my attitude goes from being something awesome to not.
Yeah.
And now I'm a distraction, like, because I'm having a bad attitude. Obviously, you should. Mm-hmm. You gotta wait to the end of the game, buddy, to have your fit, right? So I'm not. So I remember untying my shoes, and then there's 2 minutes left, still not in, and then like a minute 30, I hear my name. And I pretend it's not called.
Oh, yeah. Looked him off.
So it's a minute 30, and I'm like, he didn't call me. So I'm like, and I'm like clapping, pretend like, oh, I didn't hear him or whatever. And obviously heard him because it was, and it says my name again. I don't go, and my shoes are untied. The guys are like, Dykstra, you're going to lose your skull. You're like, what are you doing, buddy? Like, you got to go in. You can't, like, they're all trying to help me. Like, hey, snap out of it. We get it that you're angry, but come on.
Yeah.
Like, get in there. So I tie my shoes up, and I go to the scorer's table, saunter, bad attitude. I'm done. I'm already done. I check into the game. I think there's like 33 seconds left.
Oh.
And I check in, and I go to the foul line, right across from our bench. Okay. And I'm standing there, and I'm just looking at the head coach, staring at him, like thinking not nice things. Like, I can't believe that you didn't play me, and how you treat me, and I'm just having all this moment inside, but bad attitude, right? So shots go up. I don't box out. I don't move. I don't try to get a rebound. I don't even move. Didn't move. I'm just staring at the coach, and the coach is lighting me up. Like, he's going, Dykstra, now you get your right. And I'm like, whatever. Shot goes in. They inbound the ball. They go down. Make a play, layup, dunk, or something. I hadn't even walked to half. I hadn't made it to half court. And how they played, they weren't being mean. They were 94 for 40, right? Like, so they make their shot even up 55. They're full court pressing.
Yeah, they don't care at that level.
No, I'm the only guy open because I haven't made it back to half. I'm the only guy open at half, so I get it inbounded to me. And of course, I'm standing in the trap corner just across half because I hadn't made it. And of course, I'm going to get trapped. So before I just soccer through it as hard as I could to the back of the rim, off the rim, dribbles, blah, 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 game over.
Yeah.
That was my last.
0 for 1, though.
0 for 1.
You're on the sheet.
Of course, coach is just like, they're supposed to do the handshakes and all the this and that. Coach is just, he wants a piece of me, rightfully so. And anyways, we get back to that. I just remember coaches, they got to do media and stuff like that. We go back to the room. You lose by 55. You got a 3-hour bus ride back home. And I just remember the guys. I was like, oh, it's going to be a somber locker room. The guys, because there's no coaches in there when we first go in.
Yeah.
The guys, they saw, they're like, they come and hug me, or they're like, they're like, thank you. They were so, because now they're not getting ripped.
Right.
because they're not talking about the game. The whole post game was my inappropriate actions and attitude, and rightfully so. So
Yeah.
all the, it was just like, how dare, and so nothing about the play of the starters not doing any of the game plans,
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
anything on the scouting report that we were supposed to do. And so I befriended myself to the guys that night, which was great, because they were very thankful that my attitude took away from their tongue lashing, right, of their poor performance. And so that night I actually so we're staying, when you lose, most, at least our team, no privileges. You're not going out, you're not partying, you got a curfew, right? You
Yeah.
eat, go to bed, hotel check for sure. On winning nights, you might have some freedom, some liberties to go do that.
Yeah.
Well, so we lose. We obviously got curfew, can't go out. I go out, and I go out with our two guard, Eric Mitchell,
Yeah.
and he's from Birdstown, Kentucky. We walk across the highway. The only thing open is like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. or something like that. We walk across the highway and it's a Waffle House.
Nice.
So we go to the we're gonna go get our feet on. So we pull into the Waffle House, and then this white limo pulls in just before we get to the door. The white limo pulls into this kind of really huge parking lot with gravel. Boom, gets out, and this guy in a cowboy hat and a beard gets out on the passenger side, and this obvious limo driver gets out on the left side. And it looks like there's a bunch of clothing and stuff in the back of this limo. Anyways, just kind of was sparkly, and it was like kind of distracting, odd. Never seen anything like that before. And my roommate, or Eric, goes, by God, that's Hank Williams Jr. right there. I do believe that's Hank Williams Jr. And I'm like, I think you're right, buddy. I'm like, Hank. And he's like, hey, boys. And he had just finished the show. And his limo driver is his best buddy. And so he's like, you guys want some waffles? We went and had waffles with Hank Williams Jr. I got him to sign a Waffle House like napkin. It's 3 a.m, bombed up, having Waffle House with Hank Williams Jr. That was the last NCAA Division I basketball game that I played, because next year, so there was a coach that I'll let you. Isn't that crazy? That was the last basketball game that I played. Ended up having waffles with Hank Williams Jr. at 3 a.m.
Oh.
Now, let's fast forward a bit, Mitch, after you digest that.
That is gold.
Is that good?
Holy God. Oh, yeah. What? I'm like, where's he going with this?
Yeah.
So thought you were going to say like the coach pulled up or something, and then it's Hank Williams Jr.
Hank Williams, obviously it's Hank Williams Jr., right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so the next day at practice, I officially let the team and everybody know, like, my situation. Hey, I'm no longer going to do this. Blah 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 blah. And then before I made that decision, I was like, hey, are you going to honor my scholarship for the rest of the year, sort of thing? And then they were, which was great. And I think my dad had a lot to do with that. And that's how I ended up playing baseball, because you talk about the swagger or the confidence or whatever. And I love sports. I was like, I would go watch our baseball team, and I'm like, I'm definitely better than almost all of you. Like, I was like, can you guys hit or not hit? Like, come on. And so, and I would talk like this, like in the cafeteria and stuff like that. Right. Like, there's no way, like, what does it matter? I'm not going to be playing baseball. So then there ends up being, so I'm not on the basketball team. And then it's almost Christmas break. So after Christmas break, there's this tryout, a walk-on tryout for baseball. And of course the guys, and I'm living in the dorms, and dorms like, Johnny, you got to try, like, at least try out, buddy. Like, I was like, fine, I'll try out. And so, like, there's like 200 people that try out, right? So we go out there, and you're just taking skills and drills, and then they're going to pick 18 guys to play the freshman and sophomore team at the finale. And then they're going to pick 2 walk-ons for this team, right? And so go through all that, and it's a 3-day thing. The last day, and I get picked to be in the final game. And it's literally this is another crazy story, and this is a real life thing. So it's bottom of the ninth. Our tryout team is down 2-1. Yeah, it's 3-1 for the other team. It's 3-1 for the freshmen, sophomores. Two guys on. I'm up, two out, bottom of nine. And it's the first pitch. And so this freshman pitcher, Cody, he was like, he's going to be their man, right? And I had been talking smack up to this guy in the cafeteria for like a year and a half, right? And
That's awesome. And then you're like, damn, I got to back this up. Eh?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
That's what it is. And so I'm just like, I'm betting that he's going to try and intimidate me with his first pitch fastball. And so I'm I'm hitting this as far as humanly possible is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I do over the center field scoreboard.
Yeah.
For a 3-run shot.
Yeah.
But it lands in the girls' softball diamond where coach is pitching to his girls.
Okay.
Hits his ankle. Shatters his ankle.
No.
Yes. Shattered the girls' softball coach's ankle. I become a legend on campus, right? For hitting this dinger. So I walk on, I make the baseball team with our wideout, this wideout Andre from our football team. So me and him are the two guys that make the walk-on squad for baseball. And I'm telling you, baseball is the most fun sport. Like ground balls, fly balls, long toss, short toss, hitting birdies, it's just I had so much fun. and I was good.
Yeah.
But so
what a nice way to reset though, hey?
Oh, it was just I had the love of sports and it was a nice reset. Just that love of competing, playing at anything. So it just turns out it could have been anything as long as you're a part of it. Whereas when I was, practicing and not playing, that was just killing everything inside me. And so, so now I have this again, but what's going to happen next year? Like, am I going to be playing baseball? Can I still get a basketball scholarship? I've already used my redshirt year. I don't want to sit out again. What could I do? And so Coach Woodard, who was an assistant coach on the Tennessee Tech team, he always tried to get me in. Like he was like, I loved him obviously because he slipped this Alaska Anchorage package, recruiting package under my door, and with a note of, I know you still love hoops and you want to play Division I. Here's the way to do it. Coach Woodard. So I read it, and they play the Great Alaska Shootout. They host 10 top 10 Division I teams every year on ESPN in Anchorage. It's Division II. You don't have to sit out if they want you, right? Like if they and it turns out that the coaching staff was massively supportive of me in terms of my character, except for that day in Mississippi, obviously. And so they sent all the film, they sent all everything they needed to send another school of supporting a kid to go there. They did for me.
Well, I think the thing too, though, buddy, is like, not to cut you off, is like, had they seen those habits over a long period of time, it might have been a different conversation, because it was like, and I'm sure even probably the head coach, he had to rip you, but at some point he's probably like, I mean, at least he cares. Like, we know he cares, right? Like, he's this happy-go-lucky kind of guy. It's like, oh, there is still some savage there, right? So it's like, I think if there was those consistent behaviors as coaches, we see it all the time, right? It's like, okay, well, that's a different conversation. Just to happen once, it's like, well, of course we're going to help this guy move on and do something,
Yeah. So I was really thankful for that. So what ended up happening was coach wants me for baseball to come back next year. Awesome. I'm so thankful for that. And I wish I could have got some this. You got time for a quick one about how I got rung up in Alabama, Birmingham?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm playing baseball and we're losing 12-0. And I get to play when Russell Stoops, this guy, when he pitches or plays first base, I'll either play left field or first base when he pitches.
Okay.
And I always pinch hit at some situation because I can I can mash. So I'm
Yeah.
all I got one AB a game for sure, but I might play some positions on occasion.
Okay.
Point being is I haven't played yet this game. We're losing 12-0 at Alabama Birmingham, and the guys, no, everybody's just waiting to go home, right? Like it's like, and I get pinched hit. There's we're down 12-0. There's nobody on. It is 2 out, and I go up, and of course I'm gonna do my very best. So
Yeah.
I end up getting down like 0-2 right away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, geez. And then I foul off like 11, maybe 13 balls. And I'm fighting. And then I get it back to 2-2. And then I get it to 3-2. And now I'm going like I'm hitting a 13 run home run, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this next pit, and it's high and outside, and it's a windy, right? I can remember the wind going. I couldn't really hear what was going on because it was just kind of windy.
Yeah.
It goes high and outside. I knew that was a ball. I toss my bat and I hustle down to first base, right?
Yeah.
And as I'm running to first base, the first baseman's like looking at me, and he's running in towards the pitching mound, and they're kind of all laughing. And then I turn to the first base dugout where my team is, and
Yeah.
they're all laying out. They're howling because I guess it wasn't high and outside. The umpire had rung me up and had struck me out. But to Johnny Hustle,
Yeah.
sprinted to first base, right? And
Oh
that just
my God.
and now
That's
the bus ride again. The bus ride was going to be horrible home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was going to be no stops, no fun, no nothing. And we get on the bus, and the coach is this old Tennessee goes, and he just looks over, and of course the guys we're all disappointed because we're not going to be able to eat where we want to eat or do all the things we want to do, and it's all quiet. And he just turns, he's like, Dykstra, you're one funny motherfucker. He's like, where do you want to stop on the way home, boys? Like it was a great road trip on the way home. And so he liked me, which was awesome. And he's like, I know you're going on this recruiting visit to Anchorage, Alaska.
Yeah.
And he's like, but I just want you to know, he's like, you should stick with baseball, right? You're
Wow.
white, you're slow, you're white, and you can mash. And he's like, I think if you put in some work, you could really, and he's just pumping like he's showing interest, which was, I just loved him to death for that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I can pay for your school, I can pay for your books, but I cannot pay for your housing or your meals. He's like, I got 15 or 13 scholarships for 26 guys, kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, so if I'd be happy to have you if you guys if you want to come back here, and then if the year goes how I think it's going to go, then maybe you're on full ride scholarship the following, like maybe we can do that if things are working out. Maybe we can't wait. I don't know, but I just wanted you to know that before you went on the trip. So I go on the trip, and instead of a 48-hour, I did like a 32-hour. And my sister was being recruited by the girls team, so we met together. She's being recruited by the girls team, I'm being recruited by the guys team. And the coach there at the time is Harry Larrabee, legend, amazing dude. We get along right away. I can see that he likes me, which was important. And it was going to be, hey, you fly in, and we're going to play right away. You're going to play for 2-3 hours. Then we have a sports banquet, and then you're on your way out the next day. And if things work out, if we like what we see, we'll get it done. And if not, then thanks for coming, kind of thing. Well, everything could not have went better in terms of playing and performing. And in Anchorage, what I didn't know is they have Elmendorf and Richardson Air Force Base. So there's 90,000 U.S. troops.
Wow.
In Anchorage on the Air Force Base just outside of Anchorage. So you can imagine all those 90,000 have families.
Yep.
The connections to the Division I sports programs and so on and so forth. So the athletes that are available to play in it, like, it was amazing, right? And so we go there. I even think Trajan was in high school, and he was at the game that I was at. I think he was in grade 11 at the time. Trajan Langdon from East High School, and so it was just like these kind of athletes. We play, go to the sports banquet. Coach loves me, signs me for a full ride. So school, books, housing, plus $660 something a month and you could use it for whatever you wanted. And I was like, what? I was like, cash? NIL, what?
Yeah.
So, anyways, I decide like, oh, that's paying the full shot. I love hoops. I'm going to play on ESPN guaranteed every year.
Yeah.
Let's do this. So I signed
Yeah.
and then fly back and played some baseball, ended my year in Tennessee, but then immediately went to Anchorage, Alaska to start my journey there, which was also incredible and amazing and could have been forever had it not been for my neck accident is what stopped me from graduating from the University of Anchorage in 1995. I broke my neck. I had C4, 5, and 6 vertebrae fractured in a diving accident. And so I don't know if you want to get into that because that has a huge
Yeah, buddy. It's huge.
impact of who I am now
Now, did you play?
today.
So you redshirted one
Yes.
year at Tech.
Yep.
Did you play 2 at Anchorage or just 1?
2.
2. Okay. So you would have been going into your senior year. You've used 3 years of eligibility at this point.
Correct.
Yeah. And you're up in the Okanagan for a
Lake Kalamaka for a soccer tournament. So in the summers, of course, again, sports junkie. Any sport, I love it. Curling, like it. Let's do it. I'm serious. And so soccer is the most amazing game. I grew up playing it with all my buddies, and I would always use that as a cross training for hoops. And so I would play in these summer tournaments, and they're fun with beer gardens. It's like the Dolphin, right? Like it's just a great environment to be a part of when you're doing adult sport. And so we were in a tournament in Vernon, Canada Day, July 1st, 1995. And we're camping at the field kind of thing, right? Because there's no hotel rooms. They're all booked unless you were, because we're young, we're not prepared. We certainly didn't book it a few months ahead of time. So we're sleeping at the fields. And then of course it's soccer. So the guys want to look, I could care less, but the other guys want to be pretty. They want showers, they want to do their hair. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and so they're like, well, coach has a hotel room. We're gonna go to this restaurant. It's right on the lake at Kalamaka. You guys could use the shower, blah, 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 blah. So there's like 20 guys wanting to use one shower. You can see how that would work out. And we're right beside a lake, Canada Day. It's like 90 at 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so I remember I had this herbal essence shampoo, biodegradable.
Classic.
I was like, it's not going to hurt the environment, guys. We can just jump in the lake, do your thing, get our soccer gear on, get to the pitch. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so went to the end of the dock. Now, by the way, at the time of this unfortunate incident, for profession, when I come home for the summer, I'm a park ranger in Cultus Lake, and at the water slides. These are my summer jobs. Like very familiar with water safety, dock safety, lake safety, diving safety, all of these things. So I go to the end of the dock. I'm like, oh man, it looks like it might be 6-7 feet deep. There's 2 boats that are moored to the end of the dock, so they got inboard motors. I'm like, okay, I'm good here. And what I didn't know about that is these boats, now many years later we find out, they only need 2 feet of water. They're ski nautique boats. They only need 2-3 feet of water. That's what gives this incredible wake for boarding and so on and so forth. Anyways, I dive off and immediately can't see anything because I knocked the brain to the front of my head. And unbeknownst to myself, I can't move any part of me either because I fractured my C5, it turns out. And I'm temporarily blind for, I don't know how long, but as long as I was in the water. And I'm floating and I'm trying to tell myself to move things, but I'm face down. I'm like floating like you would pretend. And I actually hear one of my, and so I'm there with like 9 soccer teammates, high school buddies that are on the dock, and I can hear them. And I actually heard one of them say, okay, grade 2, always about you, Johnny, like that kind of stuff, right? Like, you know, the guy that like, oh, I'm dead, I'm dying. Like they think it's like I'd be that guy. And I just remember I was like, the boy that cried wolf. I'm like, that book was so, I was like, I'm the boy that cried fucking wolf. Like, I'm like, guys, I'm not that guy. You know, I'm not that guy. Don't make me that guy. Save me. I'm like, come on, I'm not that guy. I'm just going to hold my breath because I'm a supreme athlete and I knew that I was. I'm holding my breath. They are going to save me. And it's just, that's the only hope I have right now.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, things aren't happening. And then things aren't happening. So it's like I just started coming to deal with the grips in this instant that this is the it for me. I'm done.
Yeah.
And I start saying goodbye to, and I can see vividly my dad, my mom, my grandpa, both grandpas, grandmas, and I'm trying to apologize for being so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm taking too long, and I'm not apologizing to all the people that I want to see. Like
Mm-hmm.
I want to just see them one last time. Like I just have to see them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, it's like a computer downloading. You see all the things that you ever did in an instant. And then it's over. Like and it's just like the movies, man. It's like it goes super bright white light with vivid images to that small little point of light, and it just goes out. And as it went out and I was done saying goodbye, I heard a splash.
Mm.
And that happened to be a guy by the name of Tino Van Slatten. He was the older guy. He was a firefighter, a 33-year-old guy on the soccer team that I had not met yet. And he was like, guys, John's been under a really long time. I'm sure I don't know who he is, and he might act like that, but he needs help. Mm-hmm. And he ended up saving me. And like for real.
You're good, buddy.
Sorry, buddy.
No, I got nothing to apologize. I'm glad.
I'm
still sitting here looking at you, man.
This is why you don't do these things,
Yeah.
Anyways, I am so thankful for Tino for recognizing that I needed help. And what he ended up doing is he got all my other buddies, Gary Lau, Eddie Van Drummelin, Hans Kreitner, and they mimicked being me. So he had me, but he had somehow, I don't know, because I was out for a bit. And then my eyes and sight came to once I was between Tino's knees, sitting in water. I was sitting between his knees. He was stabilizing me, telling the guys that Gary was me, and that because there was waves coming in, because there's boats, like pretend Gary is John and what you guys are going to do. And he's just walking them through exactly where to hold, what body part to touch, and then take a step, and you all stop, let the wave pass, take a step. And the reason why that was important is he said, when the paramedics get here, there's going to be two of them. They're going to try and lift, they're going to tell us to all go away, and they're going to try and lift John out of the water himself. And if his spinal cord isn't screwed, they're going to do something to screw it for sure. Mm-hmm. There's no other way to get him out of here with two people. So if we can get him at least onto the dock, there's a chance he might be okay. Mm-hmm. And so Gary mimicked me. They were able to successfully lift Gary onto the dock without moving his neck or spinal cord. And then they all, before they did that, he told everybody to pinch me. So I'm in the water, and I see all my buddies, and they're like, make him bleed. And I can see blood coming out of my arms and wrists and hands and whatever. I can't feel any of that stuff. My knees, wherever, they're just pinching me everywhere. So from the neck down, I can't move. And so they successfully got me onto the dock and got me onto the dock. And then then the paramedics show up. They put me on the board. They strap me to the board. They put me into the ambulance. They get me to Jubilee Hospital, and they're ill-equipped for spinal cord injuries. They don't have the capacity to treat it. But what they can do is they can get me ready for transportation to someplace that can. And so that's what starts happening. But I'm in this, I'm in this board in the emergency room. My my life is just like one, like I'm so happy to not be dead. Like the other,
Mm-hmm.
like I can't even explain. So I'm like jovial. I'm
Mm-hmm.
cracking jokes, like because you're distracting from what just happened,
Mm-hmm.
like a half an hour ago. Anyways, so I'm strapped, and they're trying to deal with me and what's going on. And I got my high school buddies that my dad has all coached these boys in hoops. And who's going to call Mr. Dykstra, Coach Dykstra, and let him know that his son has just broken his neck and needs emergency surgery? And so Eddie Van Drumlin got that short straw and called my dad. As that's happening, I we were just at Denny's before we were at the lake having breakfast. I had 2 grand slams, baby.
Of
I'm
course
ready
you
to
did.
play soccer all day, right?
Yeah.
and, and they've obviously given me some kind of narcotic or some kind of intravenous thing because I got
Yep.
and it's not making me feel very good. Like it's
Ooh.
rumble in the jungle I got, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to vomit for sure, but I'm strapped to this thing while they're
Oh.
calling parents and whatever, and I'm still strapped to it, and I can't make any sound because if I open my mouth, I'm going to puke.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm like making these mumble sounds, and then I finally go, I just yell out some primal sound, and then they're like, one of my guys like, oh, I think he's gonna puke, and I'm like, shake. Oh, I wasn't shaking my head because I was strapped, but I was
Mm-hmm.
like with my eyes, like, yeah, like help, or I'm gonna aspirate, or something's happening. Anyway, so they. I remember the nurse coming down the stairs with like a kidney shaped spit, like a kidney shaped iron or pan of some
Yep.
sort, and he puts it by my mouth like I'm just gonna dribble a
Oh
little bit of
no.
spit. And I remember seeing his man, he had fresh new Reebok kicks, his nurse shoes, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm on my side on the board, and he's got the kidney and 2 Denny's breakfasts just unleash on this nurse who was expecting a little dribble, like, here, I'll
Yeah.
help you, sir,
Yeah.
So I emptied my Denny's breakfast on the nurse, and then they gotta empty my stomach anyway, as it turns out, to get me on the plane. So they got to put a tube up my nose and into my
Mm.
gastro tube and get me onto the plane, which they eventually do. And then I get flown to VGH that same day. And so I'm in the ICU critical care spinal cord unit there, and that's where my parents meet me
Mm-hmm.
for the first time. And apparently, they didn't even recognize, because I got wheeled by them, and they didn't even recognize that it was me, because all the things hooked up to me
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. So
And this is all the same day.
this is all the same day.
Ooh.
And so now I'm at VGH. It's Canada Day, and of course we're just letting the family know. And now the physician's like, okay, you got 2 choices. We can put you in a halo for 9 months, and you rest, and we'll see what happens, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can do this exploratory surgery, open you up and see what's going on in there. And if there's something that I can fix, I'll fix it. Or I'll at least take a look to see if I can fix it while I'm in there. If there's something that I can do, I'm going to do it. If it's not, then I won't. And maybe we'll have, but I can go and take a peek. It's very, very risky. You'll be in traction the whole time. It'll be 6 to 8 hours of so that's just blood transfusion the whole time, right? Because your
Mm-hmm.
neck's open, pinned behind, like, so they go posteriorly, and so you have this decision, and all the things were in my favor. I was in really great shape at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wanted some kind of hope, and the halo thing didn't offer any hope to me. It didn't sound like the other option, although it was risky. I was like, that sounds like the thing that I would like to try. And so we had to make that decision. And then on day 4, I had this surgery. So 4 days after the accident, I had this surgery. And I obviously had the A+ student. Dr. Marcel Dvorak was my spinal cord surgeon, and he how he explained it to me, he's like, Johnny, it was wonderful. You did not sever your spinal cord. You pinched it and crushed it and made it not be able to work because your C5 completely shattered into thousands of pieces. He's like, just imagine, just shave your fingernail with a, and that's the size of fragments of bone fragments. He's like, they're very minuscule. And he took over 1,700 of these bones out of my spinal cord that was piercing it. My C4 was fractured in half, but it was a clean fracture. And my C6 was fractured in half, but it was a clean fracture. So he took my hip bone where you got extra bone, and he made a vertebrae, a C5 out of my hip bone. And then he fused my 4, 5, and 6 with a ceramic bar and 3 screws, which I still have in my neck today. And 17 days or 11 days after surgery, so 17 days after I was in the hospital, 11 days after surgery, I basically walked out of the hospital. And the only thing I couldn't move at that time was my right arm. And I couldn't move my right arm for a year for whatever reason. That it was like it, whatever the impact of my spinal cord and brain impulse to the trigger, the movement for my right arm, it just wasn't there. I couldn't feel, couldn't move, couldn't do anything for a year. But I'm just so, I couldn't care less about my right arm. I was so happy to be alive. And now, while this is happening, guess who comes to my bedside table in the hospital?
Well, and also you're like, I can finally work on my left hand too. So, you know.
Right? The stranger.
Sorry, dark joke, but I couldn't resist.
Actually, that is nice. I actually was giving my little nephew crap yesterday. He's 14. He plays on his own team in Poco. And he wasn't like, finish with your left hand in the charge circle, anywhere in the charge circle. You better be able to finish with both hands. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So that's my.
So before we jump to who shows up at the bedside. So
yeah,
I'm just wrapping up the Jay Williams book. Remember, he got on his motorcycle, crashed into the pole.
Yeah.
Pretty wild story. So just in terms of you mentally, were you able to just go, F basketball right now, I just need to worry about me? Or were there so many things swirling around in your head? Like, what's the thought process there? And then you're like walking out, like,
oh, dude.
Yeah, like what?
I'll tell you the thought process is, I'm going to do all those things I never tried.
Yeah.
I never drank. I didn't drink in high school. I wasn't. Everybody kind of knows me as a partier, or did when you meet me, like when you met me, when I had gotten to UBC.
Yeah.
I was so thankful to be alive and full of life that if there was ever a party, I was not missing it, because I missed all of them when I was a kid. I didn't go to them. I thought that was a distraction. You don't do that. What I realized later on is, no, you're just smart about it. You do it at the appropriate times and appropriate occasions, that sort of thing. But what I mean by that is, I was going to do that. Oh, I was going to do. Okay, well, I was just so
when
thankful.
Are we doing it? I'm doing it.
I answered the phone, I'm in, right? Like if I just wanted to do everything, and I absolutely still. But I still had basketball. I was like, now I'm still young. I bet you I can be the greatest comeback of all time. That was just like instantly, like that's how you're like, just, I don't know of any other way to operate other than, okay, obviously I'm going to be the most amazing comeback story of all time. Like it was just my mind frame.
Right.
And the reason why I could do that is because of my support network. My parents, my grandparents, the love, they're just like, could care less if you couldn't move anything from here down. We want you here. We like I just felt so supported.
Yeah.
And to my point where you cut me off, and then I'm going to bring it in now. Bruce Enns came to my bedside, and not to recruit me, just as it had nothing. He's just like, listen, I coach a basketball program that happens to be attached to the best physical and rehabilitation program in the country at Allen McGavin Sports Center. He's like, if you want my assistance in any way, blah blah blah. If you ever want to coach, if you ever want to be a part of basketball, I want you on my staff. Like these types of things, like it
Mm-hmm.
had nothing to do with playing. It was just like you, the person, and your family. He's like, I want to be associated with you, your sisters, your mom. Like playing had nothing to do with it. It was just all about what's going to happen for the rest. He cared about me. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he always wanted me as a player. And so we go back to this thing when I was a boy, I felt so uh, kind of slighted or not given the opportunity to represent our province because somebody didn't believe in me. Well, heck, I didn't go to UBC, and he believed in me the whole time. He let me
Mm-hmm.
go to wherever I wanted and always said, hey, once you're done whatever you're doing, there's always a place for you. Like that was always the conversation that we had. And then he comes and tells me, and it had nothing to do with hoops. It just had to do about taking care of me and caring about me. And man, as soon as I would run through a wall for that man. He gave me this little carrot
Mm-hmm.
to maybe work towards, which wasn't even a carrot at all because it was supposed to be just about my rehab. But as soon as he said that, I'm like, I'm playing. I'm like, this is happening, right? And maybe it wouldn't. So I was an assistant coach actually. So I enrolled at UBC. I couldn't care less about my credits. My parents have no, my dad always bugs. Okay. So I'm a graduate from UBC, but it took me 7 years. And he's like, yeah, seven. He does the whole doctor thing, right? He's like, what
Yeah,
are you, a
yeah.
doctor? Right. Anyway, when I break my neck, I have completed 4 years of university. I have
Mm-hmm.
done 96 credits. I'm
Mm-hmm.
12 credits away from graduating at Anchorage. But to go to UBC, I had to enroll, and they only accept your first 60 credits. Could care less if
Damn.
you went to Harvard. They take your first 60, and that's all they're taking.
Damn.
They're not taking your best 60. They chronologically take the first 60 that meets their entitlement. They don't take your 300 level, whatever. You got to take those over at the end.
Wow.
Anyway, so I didn't care. I could care
Yeah.
less. My dad had no idea what a credit is. Like he just thinks that I'm dumb
Yeah.
because it took me 7 years to get a degree. Anyways, no, he doesn't. He doesn't think those things. He just likes to kid me about it. But so, anyways, I enrolled at UBC, and I was a student assistant coach my first year in a support unit for my neck, around my waist, around my shoulders, and I couldn't move my right arm, so I only had one arm, and I was the assistant coach, and I just had so much fun because I was involved with basketball. It was all
Mm-hmm.
about the basketball, the games, the travel, the trips, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, and then that summer of that year, I had an itchy head one morning, and I went, "Oh my, it worked!" And I remember screaming and hugging and kissing my mom because now it went, well, now watch out. So then I just became a fiend. My dad made all these pulley systems in the garage and to get all the movements that I needed to
Mobility
get
back.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm playing with just some amazing humans at UBC and got to play another 2 years of college hoops. So, and it was just a wonderful journey. And all of those guys, if I see them today, that's my crew. Those are my boys. Those are my loves. It's unspoken thing that we have anytime we see each other. Those UBC teammates of mine are just near and dear. I feel like it's just kind of everything all happened for a reason to make sure that I ended up at UBC with those guys, because those guys are still as tight as we were then. We are that tight now, raising families. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I don't
it's kind
have
of a
much. I
whole
don't
hum
have much to
ending.
say.
Sorry.
No, it's great, man. And I mean,
Shit.
there's just so many elements, right? I'm like thinking of all those guys at UBC that you had the opportunity to play with,
Mm.
but then all the things mentally and physically that you just had to go through and process. And um, yeah, like it really is the saying is it takes a village, but it really does, right? And I think this is kind of like the part of the story where people don't really get. And I love the reflection about you just being like, because it is true, in the early 2000s, it was like Dolphin Park, full outfits, like boisterous,
Oh,
but you're taking what's happened, and you're like, I'm going to embrace the rest of my life because I know how fragile it is, which is why I want to be at every practice for my daughter, whatever I can, right? All these things. I don't want to miss out on a moment. And I'm sure over time it's been a process, probably working with Megsy to be like, hey, you can't be everything to everyone, man. Pick and choose here. But early on, just those moments of sort of like, wow, I've got another chance. Oh wow, I can still hoop. Like, and like, dude, you didn't just go and play men's league. You're playing at UBC on a top 10. You know what I mean? Like you're playing with an amazing team and you guys are like a national championship contender. Like it's a good program. Like you weren't just, I mean, it's wild, man. Your journey is, it's something else, buddy. I don't really know what else to say. Like that's, it's
I
awesome.
just It is awesome. I love hoops. And, I think we all sit in those basketball camps and we have guys coming in out of the gymnasium telling us their stories. And the thing that links all of those stories together for me is everybody says how this basketball can take you all so many places
Hmm.
all over the world. I've been all over the world because of the game of basketball. It's just, and all the people that are involved with it that I've come a part of, it's just what a wonderful, amazing, supportive community. Uh, and I think that this is the like hoops journey.
Hmm.
We all have these hoops journeys, and so I'm glad that you asked me to share my story today. And I just really appreciate you reaching out and thinking that I might have something to add for folks that
Hmm.
might want to know a little bit about my story. So I appreciate it.
Of course, man. And I think too, it gives you selfishly an opportunity to reflect on things. Like we can all reflect on our in our own brain, but when we have the opportunity to verbalize it and speak it out, it becomes truer and more powerful, I think. And I think the way you just summed up that very ending about right now, these are my guys, it's unspoken, and now we are raising families together. And maybe some of those people don't have kids or whatever, but like it's unspoken. And I think in the end, the wins, the losses, all in between are great, but it's that bond and it's that locker room and it's those roadies that create those memories for us. And those are the things you hang on to, right? Like, as funny as it is a story of Penny Hardaway or this and that, it's like I can turn a corner and if I run into someone at a restaurant, it's the biggest bear hug ever because I may not have seen that person in a year and a half, but what we went through together can never be exchanged or replaced, right?
That's right.
Hmm. It's awesome,
Uh,
man. Um, and like the thing for you, John, is like you go on you go play on a traveling road team, right? You
yes,
do
I
that,
did. Yep.
right? You jump back into coaching the high school game,
Seattle Blue Angels,
the
baby.
Blue Angels, baby, right? Like how
Doug
many
Doug
laps you,
Hawk Doug Hockenberry.
right? Just driving all over in a with his 48 kids or whatever he had, like
Yes.
doing that. Then you jump back into coaching, you go to White Rock, like a dominant program. You coach at UBC, like
Yeah.
holy slay, like your journey is absolutely crazy. And then now you've got these young ones where you're kind of like, and you're using all these things that you've learned to help others, just like that grade 5 teacher. Hopefully, maybe they can create their own memories and journeys along the way, right? Which is in the end, what else do you want? You know?
Man, somebody to tell you that you can do that, whatever that thing is that you want to do. If you have one person that says, you know what, yeah, you can do that.
Hmm.
It's so powerful, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So hopefully we're doing that with this cast. Hopefully they're doing that with everything in my life. I try to be intentional of spreading that kind of positivity and for folks, particularly with my daughters, and hopefully I know that you do with your son.
Yeah.
And we are now in the phase of where we're raising families together. I love how you said that.
Yeah. And you're okay. We got to do the fun questions, but I'll
Okay,
say this for the
let's hit
listeners.
them.
So we go down. Everybody takes a half day on the Friday or whatever. We head to Seattle, and Johnny, we get in the hotel room, have a beer or whatever, getting ready for the ball game, and Johnny's literally on his phone trying to figure out if he can get up on Saturday, make it to like his daughter's soccer game somewhere in
Seattle.
yeah, like
It was
yeah,
close.
and make it back in time for first pitch. And we're looking at him like he's got a freaking horn coming out of his head. But that's kind of where you're at, right? And I love it, man. And
Yeah,
I
I
think
wanted to
that energy,
surprise her.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you failed. You didn't do it.
I
So
didn't do
it's
it.
probably from the peer pressure of the boys. Yeah.
No, it was the time. It was just I can't do
Dude,
it.
and I'm leaving out like you started a band, you're a musician, you get to play on stage with your dad, like your buddies, like you're,
I
yeah,
yeah, I have like 20 other things that we didn't get to today, but
we can
that's
do part two, man.
yeah,
The people
yeah.
will want it. Well, people will want it.
You
Okay.
know what?
So
I thank you. Yeah.
you being such a musical guy,
Yeah, man.
the artists can be dead, alive.
Mm.
Who, if you get an opportunity, best seat in the house, uh, your favorite venue that you think acoustics, whatever it is,
Mm.
who are some people that either you've seen and want to see again or would love the opportunity to see? And I know this could be a long list and it's going to be all over
Yeah,
the place, but I'm here for it.
all
So
over the
let's,
place for
what do you
sure.
got?
I think number one would be I would Freddie Mercury, Queen. Like would love to have been at
Oh,
that any of their shows, but particularly that 20-minute uh AIDS fundraiser performance. That was just incredible.
yep.
And then of course I want to kick it back to like Etta James and like the blues, that sort of thing. I would have loved to seen her. And then and the hip, like our band, we never used to play any Tragically Hip songs because why would you? Because of Tragically Hip, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Now that Gordy's not around, it's like it. I don't know. I need the Hips music in my life, and so our band's been performing some of their songs,
Nice.
and so if I could see them again, I would love to do that.
Awesome.
Love that
Love that.
opportunity.
Have you had the chance to like go to Nashville or anywhere? I mean, Chicago's got good blues too, right? But
Yeah.
is
So
that kind of a something you'd like to end up doing, or have you a chance to do that?
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I want to do it. I haven't
Yeah.
gone as an artist. Of course, I went there as a student
Yep.
and got to experience some of the Nashville joints there. But I would love to go back as an adult now. You're absolutely right. Go to the Ryman, go to the Honky Tonks, and that sort of thing. I did see Eddie Money play on the bridge in Nashville. I think it was for a July 4th celebration or something like that. That was pretty interesting. But yeah, uh, music is uh, just food for the soul.
Absolutely.
It's an escape to be able to express yourself. I think as men, we have a challenge doing that more
Hmm.
often than not. Of course, I might not be a part of that as I teared up earlier telling a personal story. So I love embracing emotion and sharing emotion and being a part of that. And music allows me to do that. I can write songs about my thoughts, about all these types of all these things that I might not communicate to my daughters properly when I'm speaking with them directly, but maybe through a song it'll hit a nerve or something like that. And my parents have always kind of done that for me growing up. My mom always sang just off the top of her head, like she was spitting, but she was singing about all these things that she just about the day and so I love that creative side of things and expressing maybe the emotions that we don't often tap into because they're so real. Music allows me that opportunity, so I seek it whenever I can. So yeah,
Love that.
we're playing Thursday,
Please shout it out.
August 15th
Yep.
at the Hollywood Theater. Hollywood Theater is on
Oh,
West Broadway.
yeah.
Thursday, it's
I went
August
to a show
15th.
there. Great venue.
Yeah, great venue.
Okay, where can people find info about that? Give us the name. Is there a
Yeah.
website? Is there a ticket link? Yeah.
You know
What do you
what?
got?
This is
That
gonna
was an evil laugh.
because this is gonna come off the tongue wrong, particularly if you're speaking about rock and roll. But what
Mhm.
this actually is it's the battle of the insurance bands. That's the real
Nice.
thing. The 15th year or 14th year, it's called the Battle of the Insurance Bands. If you Google that, you'll find it. And it's at the
Amazing.
Hollywood Theater, August 15th. We'll also be at the Mission Raceway, August long weekend, I think August 2nd. And then we'll be in Aldergrove at the Langley Cruisin' at 264th Street, September 12th.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go. Um, and I agree. Music, it also just brings you back to certain times. Certain songs bring you to moments, and there's not a lot of things out there that can do that for people. And great touch too. June is not only Pride Month, but it's also Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, man. So really important bringing that up. And I think for myself, I've recently just gone back to my counselor just for someone to chat with, and I think it's important. I think we need to be vulnerable. I can't be some person who talks to the kids and says, "Oh, this is what you need to do. Be vulnerable with your life. It's okay." and then not do it myself, right? And so you're right, man. As dudes, we have a hard time sort of reaching out. And I think when you get to our where we are in our lives, we realize it and it becomes easier. But I think if we can get the young men out there to do it even sooner in their life, they'll have a better existence for sure. So thanks for sharing all that. Um, books or movies, man. Even though you showed me
Whoa.
two that you have, mine.
Okay. And yeah, I got so True Blue, a tribute to Mike Krzyzewski's career at Duke, and The Carolina Way, leadership lessons from a life in coaching by Mr. Dean Smith or Coach
Is
Dean Smith.
is one of those signed? Is that are either of those signed? They
No, I
might
think you thought that I might have had your signed copy, and I don't believe that I do.
no.
No.
I think it's the other Coach K book. But how long have you had these?
I think I think I borrowed these from you 17 years ago. I'm not joking. I
I
think
love it.
it's been 16, 15. So it's been a while.
And because we don't get the opportunity to see each other much, I think when it does happen, it's gonna be like, hey Reagan, hey Migsy, I'm gonna give him his books back or whatever. But like, just do
Yeah.
it one at a time, right? Get home and be like, I
You got the
forgot.
other one.
A
Sorry.
couple months later, like I gotta get that other book to him. He really needs it. He wants to pass it on to like another
By the
coach.
way, I don't think you need to give me training on this. I've been doing this for
Yes.
17 years. I have had all of those excuses already.
All
But
right.
but
So
my
is it?
so my favorite book though
Yeah.
is a little ditty where Mr. Borgeson read it to us in our
Oh,
grade 5 class. It was just funny. It's called Where the Red Fern Grows. Where the
wow.
Red Fern Grows. Amazing book. I loved it, particularly at that time of an 11-year-old impressionable boy. Check it out. Where the Red Fern Grows.
Boom. Love it. You got to take the kids to Inside Out too.
Already have on
So
opening
good, right?
night. It's
So
the
good.
best.
Hey, I was really impressed. Well
So
done.
I loved one, but also
Hmm.
two. Like it's just what a great way to introduce that those things are all
Yes.
real and how to. That's what's going on in me. Oh
Yes.
yeah, yeah. My
Super well
so
done.
we went on the 15th. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. Let's see. It's either Dolphin Park or it's Kits. It's your choice. JP Reimer's working security to make sure the next run's in order and no one fights. He's working for the city.
He did
Um,
do that. That's right.
yeah. So you and four players. Now,
Yep.
these could be your four all-time favorite NBA players. They could be your all-time team. Doesn't matter, but it's 21, call your own, and you gotta stay on to you gotta win to stay on. So I know you're gonna have a hard time if you pick people, but hey, I'm here for it. Let's hear it. I want to know what you got.
I got it. So I did a
Yeah.
little prep. I did a little prep for this to make
Attaboy.
sure that
Attaboy.
and I got like 3 or 4 different situations and teams.
Okay.
But the first one that just could you go with just right away,
Hmm.
uh, Johnny Dumont, Gerald Cole, Steve Nash, Dirk, and me.
Oh my God.
That's what I was thinking. Just the vibe, the brotherly love on the
Thanks for
court.
coming out.
Like, come on. I think we got all 5 spots covered pretty decently with that. We should be able
Ooh.
to hold court with those guys.
Ooh. Uh okay, so
Now, if we want to go
Dirk's
all
playing
top,
Dirk's playing the
yep.
five.
Dirk can play whatever the hell he wants. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
Yes.
Steve the point. You're Gerald's the two, you're the three,
Yep.
and Johnny's like the swing four.
I would
You
go
guys could probably
Nash 1.
yeah,
I would go Gerald 2,
yeah.
and then I would go Johnny 3.
Okay.
I would go 4, and I'd
Yeah.
be playing high low with Dirk
Yeah, yeah.
for sure.
Sweet. Love
Because
it.
in the high post, if you sag off me, it's down.
Yeah, you're
So
knocking that
forget
down.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one lineup.
That was like the one that I was like, gosh, I just okay, great. And then if we're going all timers, point guard Pistol Pete, 2 guard Mike, obviously, give me a break. 3 Larry, 4 me, 5 Sabonis, Arvidas.
Wow.
That's my 5.
Man, he was so good.
Dude, he won for 20 years before anybody even knew he was
Well,
alive.
that's the
Right?
thing too,
Like,
is that he came to the
geez,
Blazers and he still killed it. And it was like, yo, if you saw this guy 10 years
winning world
prior, right? Like,
championships. It's why the
yeah,
U.S. could not win a world championship.
Love
Like,
it, man.
and then of course his kid now.
I know.
Give me a break. I loved him in Arizona, but what he's doing in the NBA is amazing too.
Yep. Kings are a
That
fun
young,
team.
watch out
Okay,
for that team next year. Hey,
for sure. Okay, so you got another lineup, or is that it?
you know what? I had that's it. That's it for the lineups for right
Okay,
now. But it was just like I wanted to squeeze Zimmerman in there. I wanted to squeeze Scalesy, Brian Scales, Richmond
of
Super
course.
Colt, stuff like that. But those are my two fives for right now.
Love it. And then obviously, for those that don't know, this man was behind the scenes of creating one of the most epic men's teams ever at the Dolphin Park Classic, a famous outdoor tournament here in Richmond, BC, every summer called the Monkeys. And the Monkeys were known for their hoop skills. They were known for their beer garden skills. But one thing that John and his wife and buddies took to the next level, and I was able to be a part of 3 or 4 of those summers, was the costumes every year, from police officers to jailbirds to rednecks to man the yeah the tuxedos. The list goes on and on, and that carried over to Dom and a couple others have touched on the freak show, right? The freak show, and so that bond of a lot of those monkeys is carried over to playing men's league at Capilano for decades, literally. And that's kind of like what when I think of you and your spirit, that's kind of like what it sticks out for me, buddy.
I
That being
love that.
said, yeah, got you. It's movie night in the Dykstra house.
Mm,
For us, it's usually Fridays. So today,
yeah,
my wife's out of town. Eli and I'll probably maybe I might let him watch TV upstairs today. I kind of want to watch the Oilers game. I haven't watched much of that, but I think it's going to be an
let's
interesting one.
go.
Yeah.
Come on,
What
game six. Let's do it.
what bag of chips are you grabbing? Now, also,
Oh, don't
after
even.
seeing you do your thing in Walmart, we walk in, the four of us, Mark Tassick, Sean Shook, you, me, we walk in and you and Tassick are like, should we get a cart? And I'm like, we're just picking up a couple things. Nah. And so I wander off and I look over and you're both, and I
I
can
got
hear
snack
Tassick
bar.
mumbling, Mitch said we shouldn't get a cart, man. I'm like, so you've turned me on to the pistachios. They're a
Oh,
regular now.
jeez.
I had 3 or 4 separate bags. So from a chip perspective, what are
Yeah.
you going to, man? I know you have some thoughts here.
Yeah, for sure. Like I actually, in some circles, I have a nickname called Chips, right? Or uh, I've been in a rockabilly band for whatever for a long time, or of course in music, and everybody has, or even sports now have everybody has tattoos,
Yeah.
and it's like, Dykes, where's your tattoo? I was like, you know what, I'm gonna wait till it's just something. Do I win a championship? Some moment, some special, whatever. I don't know. I've just never come to that point. And Megan out of the corner, she's like, what are you going to get a tattoo of? Bag of chips? So I might get a
You're
tattoo
like,
of a bag of chips. Yeah. Now, the best bag of chips, everybody knows this. The only and one correct answer is all dressed, but maybe not my favorite. My favorite, I think, is little black pepper and lime by Miss Vicky's. That's
ooh,
nice. But
okay.
then as soon as I cross the line, it's the chip. It's the Maui onion, baby. Or
Oh,
come on. As soon as you cross the line, I don't know why they're so delicious. And then they also have that sweet mesquite barbecue.
so
So
good.
yeah, chips. I love them. They're so bad for you, but I just love them.
I know they're great. Who have been some of the most important people in your life?
Yeah, my parents number one, and still helping support Megan and I raising a family. If the girls want to do anything that maybe we can't, like you got to make the budgets
Yep.
are a real thing.
Yep.
Uh, Grandpa is like, I don't care if they want to do it, they're doing it. So having that financial support
Mm-hmm.
for all the girls' endeavors also creates a relief. But that's my whole focus is on, hey, what are we doing as a family? And then if there's opportunity to do something uh, with them, that's the number one. And then number two is with the boys. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are my buddies up to? How can we get together and spend time, share
Mm-hmm.
stories, hang out? Like that's all I'm about
Love it.
right now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Obviously you're a musician. So is there something else? Do you have a hidden talent that people don't know about?
I guess that would be the only thing is singing.
Yeah.
So uh, grew up in the church, was in
Mhm.
the choir, the whole, kind of like that very uh, familiar story from lots of singers where they got their start in the church. And then it's just, I find it just a great way of expressing myself. And so whether it's good or not is a totally different subjective thing, but I love doing it. Yeah.
Why did you decide to take the leap to do it? Knowing that it would be time, effort, money, energy, all those things. Like what was it in you that made you decide like I'm going to do this?
Again, back to the broken neck. I was
Yeah.
gonna do all of those things. I was
Mm.
gonna try it being band. I was like growing up in Chilliwack or growing up even nowadays. So I would put this, it could be anybody. It's like, but for me, it was in Chilliwack. It was like, yeah, I love to sing and dance. I was like, what are you gonna tell your buddies? I just want to sing and dance. Like those are my favorite things, right? It's like I didn't have the confidence or disposition to just know that and be
Mm.
okay with that and profess that at that age. I knew that it was okay to like sports though. And so I think that once I matured and understood like, hey, actually, whatever I am into is okay as long as
Mhm.
it's not harmful to myself or someone else. And singing is one of those joys. And so to the point of I actually implemented singing as not for a great deal of time, but as a point of my coaching,
Mm.
like, and it's all about making, like we as young or as anybody, if you notice yourself making fun of somebody else for a skill they have, I'm not ever down with that. I don't
Mm.
enjoy that. So like
Mhm.
whatever level anybody's at doing their thing, I don't get enjoyment if laughing at somebody unless it's a comedian and that's an intentional environment or we're chopping it up.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is, we'll always say, oh, they're not good enough, or I don't like that, or whatever. Okay, great. How are you at it?
Mhm.
How you have a go? Sing this line for me right here, Aaron, to
Right?
the whole team as loud as you can,
Yeah.
right? And it's a humility. It's also once you do that and let yourself go and trust it's always okay. It's always okay. Whatever happens, however you sound, and then it's like, oh, I can do that. So that's just one little example of getting over something that maybe you're stopping yourself from doing because you think that you're maybe not good enough or whatever it might be, that you don't think that your contribution to whatever that thing is going to be good enough, and then you go and do it, and however it comes out, it is good enough. And
Yeah.
so it turns out that I really just love doing it. And so I've been doing that now with my dad. My dad's the bass player. And I akin it to like playing catch, There's nothing
Mhm.
better than playing catch with your boy. Are you kidding me?
Mhm.
Once you're out in the backyard and tossing something, it's like, and then music is the
Mhm.
same thing. And so I also don't have to run up and down 40, 90, 94 feet, thank goodness. So
Amazing.
it's something that I can do still too. So
It's awesome.
yeah,
Um,
it doesn't hurt the knees.
exactly right. What's the greatest cereal of all time?
It's got to be Rice Krispies, most
Wow.
diversified, right? Rice Krispie squares, all of those sorts of things,
No
right?
sugar or add sugar?
Okay, as a kid, tons of sugar only. As an adult, no sugar.
Okay.
I also loved Harvester's Crunch. It's underrated.
Harvester's
Granola,
Crunch. Did
granola.
they,
It's underrated,
is
baby.
this made
It's
in
underrated.
Chilliwack?
It's just good. It's just delicious. That's
I'm
all.
checking it out here. Oh yeah, yeah, I know
It's
this.
delicious. And there's
Yeah.
different flavors too. You can
Yeah.
get a little honey
Y-
or not, right?
You could almost like almost even add it like to your yogurt, you know?
Delicious in
Yeah.
yogurt was yes.
Yeah. Okay, buddy. Well, this is not only long overdue, but I feel like timing is everything and everything aligned for us. So, really appreciate you being with us today, sharing your story. You're such a impactful person on so many. I don't know if you give yourself enough credit for the amount of people that lives that you've touched, just with you being who you are. And I think you're just a genuine, outgoing, positive guy. And the way you just summarized the end there at the end, just talking about, not making negative comments or, and it's so true. Like you walk that and you live it. And it's like, I was like thinking of that while you're talking. I'm like, That's actually really true. I've never really seen him, and now I feel bad for laughing at someone for something. But you know what I mean? But this
No,
is but this is the type of impact that you have, bud. And people are gonna love this episode and for many different reasons. So thanks for being with us. The last question we always ask before I let you summarize your thoughts is who would you like to see on a hoops journey? But you are the plug, you're the connection. So don't be throwing out a name where someone's gonna be like, beat it, Dykstra. I'm not hopping on with that fool. It's got to be somebody you know that has a great story. Would be fun to chop it up with. Oh, he's
yeah,
thinking. Oh,
I am.
you didn't do your homework on this one. Hey, you did all the other ones. You
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
I did, but then the catcher was I had to be a part of getting them out to tell their
Oh,
story, right? And
okay. Well,
so,
who is it then?
okay, well, for me, the
Yeah.
biggest and this will never happen, but
Mm.
it's P. Willie. Like Paul Williscroft
Oh, yeah. Oh,
is the best basketball player I've seen play, and I would love to know more about why he didn't, or
yeah,
what his journey is. I just want to know
yeah.
more about his journey. I don't actually know about his journey to the point and degree that I want to. And so,
That guy was
oh my goodness.
wow. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'd
Okay.
like, and then I don't know if you've had Barnes on already.
Throw that
You've
out
probably
there.
you've probably
Craddock?
had you've had Barnes on,
Oh yeah.
obviously. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah.
That's
And
the
then
man.
and have you had Reimer?
No rhymer, but you got to get rhymer on.
Okay, so
There you
I got
go.
it.
There's your
So I got some work to do.
yeah.
Yeah,
P Willie too. Wow, great call.
dude, he was just the
Yeah,
most.
yeah.
He was just a beautiful basketball player.
It's a good way to put it. He really
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, he really was. All right, my man. Thoughts. Uh Thanks for being with us. Fantastic. Wrap it up and we'll let you go enjoy your beautiful Friday. Thank you for
I,
being with us.
Thank you, Aaron. I want to wrap it up with this, and I want to talk about your brother and how much I love him and how I met him at UBC. Greatest manager teammate of all time. Like, talk about a guy. Like, remember I said, "Hey, when I was at Tennis Tech, whatever you needed, guys." Like that. Like he embodied that, and so I loved him first, and then he has this incredible brother, you, and now you're doing this hoop journey, sharing all of these connections and stories for all of us old heads. Man, I appreciate you so much, buddy. Thank you for having me on today.
It was an honor and a privilege. We appreciate your story. Fantastic one. Nothing left to say, man. I love you. You already know that.
Well, I have
I'll
10 things.
yeah.
I have 10 other people running through my head. I should have said this, like,
The Cubs just what first pitch was 20 minutes ago, so I'm sure we'll be texting about how horrible they are in about 5 minutes here. But my man, much love. Episode 137, absolutely fantastic. A local legend, Mr. Johnny Dykstra. Thank you to our sponsors, and we will see you on the next one.